How about you, Juan Carlos? So many people take issue to the fact that President Bush has lost Latin America. Some say that he was the president who had more involvement than any other president in the sense of visiting the region and all those kind of things. What do you think about that and the situation that we're facing now with the new administration?
I think you can have it both ways. Historically, Latin Americans complain about U.S. interventionism in the region. So when we finally have a president that took a hands-off policy sort of towards the region, now we hear a lot of complaints that the U.S. has neglected Latin America.
You are referring to President Bush.
Exactly. So I prefer that stand. I prefer that approach. I don't like U.S. meddling in the region, and that's why I'm content with what happened in the last 8 years, where the United States was willing to engage those countries that wanted to do business with Washington, and simply ignore those who wanted to have a fight. And I think that's an area where we can see like meaningful change with Obama, in the sense that those countries like Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, whose presidents have thrived because of anti-Americanism feelings towards the U.S. I think that with a widely popular president like Obama, they're going to have a hard time trying to portray the United States as the evil empire as they have in recent years, because the anti-Americanism was very personalized towards President Bush. Now with Obama, they're going to have a hard time trying to do this. But so I think that the key is going to have President Obama, this administration, avoiding a fight with Venezuela, avoiding a talk of war, of words with Caracas and the other countries in the region that want to have a fight.
The 3Ds that that the United States was insisting so much in Latin America, democracy, development, and drugs, are issues that are important, but I think we are over those. We need to concentrate on other points, like, for example, energy security. Like, how do we get over with the social inequalities that exist in the region? There is issues of environment. There is a new and different agenda that Latin America would like to discuss with the United States.
I think that those are issues that Latin Americans should deal with themselves, and it's not Washington business to try to impose or suggest an agenda for Latin American countries.
But the United States has always concentrated his relationship on the issues the United States wants to concentrate.
There is one issue there, one of those Ds that really concern me, and is the issue of drugs and what is going on in Mexico right now. I think that the United States can no longer ignore the mess that the war on drugs is creating in Mexico, in the southern neighbor. Last year, 5,000 people died in drug-related crimes. And just yesterday, a group of influential former presidents, Fernando Enrique Cardoso from Brazil, Cesar Gaviria from Colombia, and Ernesto Zedillo from Mexico, released a report calling for breaking the taboo of discussing alternatives to this war on drugs.
And saying that the drug on wars did not work.
It's not working, definitely it's not working. The drugs keep flowing to the United States, and what we're seeing is that countries with weak institutions like Mexico are paying the price for this war on drugs with high
So you think that policy needs to change, the focus needs to change?
Exactly, and I think that the Obama administration will be very well advised to listen to Latin Americans and listen to what this commission is suggesting. Like, let's talk about alternatives. Let's talk about other policies that might be better in tackling the drug issue.
It's very interesting to see Juan Carlos, the conservative point of view, saying the same thing, that the drug policy did not work.
But I want to underscore his concern, but also make very clear that the Mérida Initiative, which was launched by President Bush, was precisely designed to address the problems that Mexico is confronting, giving Mexico the assistance and replicating the successes we've had in Colombia in the last 4 or 5 or 6 years, as President Uribe has turned around the war on drugs in Colombia, to replicate this in Mexico. The fact of the matter is, this is in our national interest. This is a chilling statistic, but the second city in terms of kidnappings in the world today is Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona had 372 kidnappings last year, second only to Mexico City. And that has a consequence of the drug war that has spilled over into the United States. So the initiative to address this issue began in the Bush administration. I think President Obama would be well served to continue to cement that
But the
relationship.
question is the approach. Did the approach work? And Juan Carlos, you have some points.
Well, I will disagree that that we can expect much from the Merida initiative. The Merida initiative is based on the Plan Colombia, which, yes, it was very successful as a counterinsurgency effort. But when it comes to stopping the flow of drugs to the United States, it's failed miserably. Just 2007, the coca production in Colombia increased 26%.
How about the embargo?
I think it's a Cold War relic that should be also lifted. I mean, it hasn't accomplished any of the supposed goals of promoting democracy in Cuba, and it serves as an excuse for the regime in Havana to portray the United States as an aggressor and to blame the economic situation on the blockade, as they call it. So I think that it should also be lifted because it is not accomplishing what it's supposed to.
What is it that the United States government
You've
should
given
be
up on
doing in
me.
relation? No, I'm not giving up on you. It's just that I would like to see if we could get some concrete suggestions of what would be the
I have
best
some
way
concrete
to go.
suggestions
I think
too.
that the United States should normalize diplomatic relations with Havana. I mean, like, I don't understand if someone should be limiting or restricting trade and tourism and travel, it should be communists, not Americans. And I don't understand how come, for example, Senator John McCain supported normal trade relations with Vietnam and communist China with dismal human rights records, but he opposes normal trade relations with Cuba. There is no logic behind that policy stand. And I think that the United States should lift the embargo and should allow also Americans, all Americans, not only Cuban Americans, to travel to the island.
Let's talk about trade now. Obama has mentioned many times that he did not agree with the free trade agreement with Colombia. What do we do in that issue? That is a very important decision that he has to do right away.
I will hope that he will reconsider his position and that he will try to get the FTA with Colombia approved in Congress. But unfortunately, the composition of Congress right now is not very friendly towards free trade agreements or free trade in general. We will be lucky enough, I think, if we end these 4 years with not going backwards in the trade agenda. So my expectation for the Obama administration is do no harm when it comes to trade.